In the previous lecture, we have talked about the string pool, how the string objects are created in the pool. Now we'll talk about the string immutability. Strings are made immutable by default. That means once you create a string, you will not be able to change the value. If you try to append any characters to it, or if you try to add any characters to it, it will create another whole new object rather than changing the existing one. That's why it is very important to not to use plus or concat operations to create to add objects to change the value, because strings are immutable. So if you, for example, you have, let me try to write up example as previous. So let's say you have a string called name. Okay, you have a string called name is equal to Vatsalya, or let's say you have name is equal to Steve. We have a name column. Let's change that to, let us say, Steve. Yeah, let us say simple Steve. Let us say we have variable name, a string called Steve, and you can add Steve is equal to, you can, if you do plus operator and say this, the Steve will, then the value of Steve will be Mr. Steve. Value of Steve will be Mr. Steve. But here what we're doing, we are appending one string to the existing string. This will create two string objects. One is Steve, the other one is Steve. The other one it creates is Mr. Steve. So both are two different objects now. This one remains as is in the pool unless unless someone makes a reference to it. And now if you, as you changing it, it will not change the exist value, but it will create a whole new object called Mr. Steve. The reason the reason they made strings as immutable is strings are commonly used for very sensitive information such as uh, passwords, or any telephone numbers or social security numbers, or anything that's very sensitive information. Strings are very commonly used for such, to store such sensitive information. If it's not made immutable, anybody who has access to the string, they can change the value over the network. So it is very risky and very dangerous. So that's why the strings are made immutable. That means once you are created a string object, you cannot change it. If you try to append anything, it will create a whole new object but does not change the existing one. So we will talk about what is the efficient way of creating the strings rather than this concat and using the plus operations. If you do this, it will create multiple string objects and it will fill up the heap. So instead, there are better approaches to add strings to an existing string. Let's see that in the next class. Thank you.